And welcome. It's been a while since I've done something production related. Well, video production related anyway. And today is how to create a DVD or Adobe. Please bring back Encore or some kind of DVD authoring software. And I may be the only one that's thinking this, but some of us still like to make DVDs every once in a while. And so that is what we'll be doing today. Okay. So I'm going to go back. I believe it's to the month of March. And yes. And this is not the droid we're looking for. I need a different folder. Different hard drive altogether. Okay, this is the one. I'll slow down just a little bit. Okay. And we will just create a new folder and we'll call it DVD. Now there's a whole process before this. And it involves making a certain video formats, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. And so we actually want to go back to March 19th, in my case anyway. And here we go. So when you render a video out of Premiere, it's or media encoder, you to create one for a DVD, you would do it like this. And it's MPEG-2 DVD preset, and it splits the file into a video file and an audio wave file. And this, of course, is the MP4, which would go straight to YouTube or wherever you want to put it. But for DVDs, it's this. There's two settings. And as an example, let's just go... encoder, because it'll be easier to show than tell. I may want to do a separate video on this, go into a little bit more detail, but let's take this video for example. Although I did this straight from the project folders, the Premiere project. I did it straight from there, but you can do it here. As you can see, there's MPEG-2. MPEG-2 Blu-ray and MPEG-2 DVD. I do not have a Blu-ray burner, so I would use these settings, and then I would render it, and it would create the two files that you see here. Now, I don't need to do that, it's already done, so we'll just close that, and we'll come over here to Encore, where I've just dragged the files in. And I'll select these two files, and I will say, we'll right click them and choose new and then timeline. Okay. Now, it's showing this because the media is still pending, so we'll wait for that. Okay. There, it's starting to show something. There we go. Alright. So now, while that is pending, we need to create a menu. So far I'm using presets. I think it is possible to create a menu from scratch, but who has the time for that, right? At some point I may, but for now I just pick a preset and something related to the topic. This is health subject. This is rather sparse. Now you have the HD menu and the SD menu. This is standard, so I'll be using SD. And this one looks rather bleak for a health lecture. Let's see if we can find something food related. I think I've said that before, but so far I have not found anything food related. Most of it. So here we have fireworks, entertainment. No, not entertainment. But anything near food, not there. Doing a really terrible mashup of accents right there. Okay, Indy, no. Let's go generic, shall we? Generic. Not submenu, but generic. Oh, not glass. Generic. Generic menu, SD. Okay. And what I will do is I'll change the aspect ratio because the video is widescreen. I want the menu to be widescreen, so I've selected the menu and now I'll change it to 16:9. And okay, so we'll start assigning buttons. So play movie, this is the most obvious one. Oh, very quickly before we do that, right now we have this little play button over here which stands for first play, and that means that when we preview this, it will just start with the video.
Am I on? Is this an order?
Which is not what we want. We want it to start with the menu. So we'll right click and set as first play. So now when we preview, we'll start with the menu. But there's something wrong. None of these buttons are working. Why aren't they working? And the reason they aren't working is because they're not connected to anything. So I come over here, and this panel changes based on what you selected over here, or indeed over here. Right now it's a project, so I need to rename this and call it There's a Pill for That. And actually, no, let me just say There's a Pill for That. Just changing the formatting there. And okay, so now, and save, because as we've learned, things can crash sometimes. I haven't had Encore crash on me yet, but okay, so link to the play movie button, very simple. You take here and we will drag across and we will select this timeline here that we've just created. And so now when you push that button, it will, well, we have to go to preview. When you hit play movie, it will play the video. Okay. So, so we have override not set. Title button. Okay. Now this one, and action, let's tell it to go back to the main menu. Okay, same idea, dragging the link there. And then I want to change the title here, because from title of your DVD to the actual name. So we'll click edit and we'll go to edit menu in Photoshop. As you can see, I've already done one. So let's come over here and we will call it, ooh, I don't know what that is. What just happened? Let's go here and we'll call it there's, remember how to spell Bill or that. Small p, we don't need to go and be all pretentious. Okay. Yeah, I actually like the font, although you could change the font. We could go and say Georgia. That actually fits better on the screen, so we'll leave it with that. And this, I don't know what that is, but we could go ahead and change those if we wanted to. And in here there are all the different items for like when you hover over and that little square showed up, you can change everything there. But this is pretty much how I want it, so we're going to go ahead and save, Control S or Command S on the Mac, flip back over to Encore, and the title has changed. And now, you can go ahead and delete elements. There's no extras, so I'm going to remove that. And there's no real need to play chapters, although I could, because if we come back over to the timeline, kind of starts with him sort of fumbling around, asking if it's on, if it's working.
Is this working? Not very well. Just buzzing.
Okay, so let's come over here.
So no, Debbie, is it my turn now? Yes. Okay. Nothing else needs to happen?
No.
Okay.
We'll interrupt you again and serve the meal in a little bit, but
Okay.
yeah.
Well, welcome.
Okay, so we're gonna go back a little bit. I'll come here. I'll
A
say
little bit, but
Okay.
back.
meal in a little bit.
Okay, so I'm gonna put the first marker right there, and that will be a chapter. And let's try to do 3 chapters. So let's go through here. And okay. Let's see. It's really hard to do 3 markers. Let me see if I get the part where something different happens. Like at one point he had a book, sort of a prize thing. And I don't remember at what point that happened. This has been a few weeks. Let's go ahead and mark what we do know.
You have an opportunity to get
So let's go with the question and answer session. Oh, okay. Additional materials. So let's say, okay.
for wicked, cruel things.
Okay. So that's health lecture. This would be
Sleep deprivation? No. Dispense entirely with everything hurtful. Use wisely that which is healthful. Whatever injures the health.
okay. Let's try to go.
So I want you to just check your posture right now and see, is it ideal? So that I can take a full
No, my posture is not ideal right now.
vital capacity
Let's
breath
fix that.
to oxygenate the blood and, just as importantly, exhale the waste products. Your lungs
I'm missing the
are
JKL
another
function
organ
that
of
Premiere
elimination.
has.
Now, how to
Okay, so let's go with
apply isn't
back. Man, I'm having trouble landing this
No.
point here.
dispense in.
Back.
You're going to have suboptimal circulation to parts of your lungs. So I want you to just check your posture right now and see, is it ideal? So that I can take a full deep breath to oxygenate the blood and, just as importantly, exhale the waste products. Your lungs are another organ of elimination. Now,
Okay, that's the point.
elimination.
Okay, so I'm going to put a marker here. And I want to grab the question and answer session.
For you to be able to object fruits and vegetables, it is still infinitely better than the Diet Coke, pass them out to people who. This young lady who's 84 years old is only on an occasional aspirin.
Get back.
6 months. A very diseased cardiovascular vascular system actually opened up on its own with just dietary intervention. Your risk will drop down rapidly. That's true.
I'm having trouble hearing, so I'm going to turn up the volume on my end.
Can you come up and help pass these out? That would be very helpful, and I would appreciate it because some people want one, but they get caught up in the rush, and then they want to, and then they leave without taking one. And then also, I have a copy.
Okay, let's go forwards.
I want everyone who wants one to be able to have one before you guys bolt for the door. And so with that, I would be happy to answer questions, but before you leave, please, if you want one, take one of these resources for yourself or for someone else. Question in the back.
Okay,
Someone.
so let's go forward.
I have a copy of this
Forward.
Versi, which has all sorts of good information in it. I want everyone who wants one to be able to have one before you guys bolt for the door. And so with
Okay, a little bit back.
and so with
Uh-oh. That was not good.
bolt for the door. And so with that and so
Man, I'm being really nitpicky.
and so
But okay, let's. It took me long enough just to get that marker there. So let's put the marker in, and let's say, okay. Now we want to add those chapter markers. So we're going to add a submenu, and what we're going to do is the same thing. We're going to come over to this changeable panel, select link, and we'll actually drag the point to a chapter so that there's the beginning of the lecture and a little image will appear there. And then chapter 2, and this is okay, final applications, and then chapter 3 is our question and answer. So now what should happen, what should happen is we should go to the menu, the main menu, and tell it that this link should be set to the submenu. Okay, and then we come back to the generic submenu, and there's no next or previous, so I'll just get rid of those, and I'll tell it to send this button back to the main menu. Okay, and also need to tell the submenu to be 16 by 9. That way it all fits. Okay, and now when we preview, you could go to choose chapter.
So please.
am I on? Is this one working? Not very well.
I may have linked that to the wrong place. So let's go over here and let us relink that. Let's relink it to this one. Okay. Okay. So now, and now there should be no strange things happening. The first chapter marker by default seems to be right here at the beginning. As you can see, this is a number 2. So now when we come up here, by the way, this is preview. I've been going really fast because I'm used to it. Okay, so now we can just...
Okay. Well, welcome.
It's good to see every one of you.
Okay,
How many of you were here at the...
Okay, so if we hit this, should be question and answer.
And so with that, I would be happy to answer questions. But
Okay, and here we'll go back to main menu. There we go. I should probably also put the name of the presenter in here. That's something I didn't do for my last one I did. But one thing I did notice is that these names aren't very explanatory. So we'll say lecture, and this one will be let's just call it final application, and then this one will be Q&A. Okay. So now that is looking good. Let's come back over here, and we will to the build tab, and we'll check the project to make sure. Click start. The project exceeds disk capacity. That is a problem. It's a 6 gig project. Okay, well, let's see. It looks like I would have to put this on either a dual layer or a 2-part disk or something. Okay. Custom. So looks like I'll have to do something fancy to get this to work. Okay. Well, that's alright. We'll, I wonder how big it would be if I go for a Blu-ray disc. Which... Okay, check the project. Okay. So that was our only problem. So this is going to be interesting. But that's the basics of creating a menu. I know that was really fast. If you didn't quite catch that, feel free to go back and watch again. I don't know why I even needed to say that. It's like a given. It's interesting. I learned this like at midnight or something. I was sort of in a jokingly say an altered state of consciousness, or you know, you can't really tell what's going on very well. You're just kind of half asleep. Maybe that was the best time to learn it because I remember. But anyway, hopefully you are not half asleep as you listen to this, and hopefully you learned something. It is unfortunate that Encore has been discontinued as a current Adobe product for those of us who still need to make DVDs, but you can always find an old version somewhere or something and still use it, or use another piece of software, but this just happens to be the one I like to use because of the capabilities. Alright, well, this has probably gone on long enough, and I may want to do a little bit more advanced one because there's some other stuff you can do. You can actually add music to the menu, or other kinds of things, a slideshow, that sort of thing. But we'll cover that at some point in a different video. Alright, thanks for watching. One thing I did forget, actually, was the final step in the process, and that would be to to finalize it in some way. Now, I showed where I went over the DVD size, but I didn't show how what I do with it. I like to do an image because that way There are some label makers that use an image to burn the disc, and then I'm thinking particularly the Epson. I forget the model number, but it prints labels and burns discs. So that's what this would be for. So we'll burn the disk image. So you have to choose where it goes, and I just went over and copied this location. So we'll call it, and this is a dual layer disc because of the tremendous size of this lecture. So okay, that's so we have image. Everything looks to be in order. Now we'll click build, and it will build the ISO in that location, and then we'll go from there. All right, now this time for real, we're done.